Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lost with Friends. As always, I'm your host, Paul Casey, and joining me today are two people from, well, let's see, I'm here in America, so they would be, and I don't want to say across the pond, but they are international friends. Go ahead, guys, introduce yourselves.
Okay, well, I'm Andrew, and I am also a huge Lost fan, just like Paul. That's me. That's me. I'm just Andrew. I'm Andrew. I'm not from England.
To confuse the listeners, I'm Andy, also from England. Yeah, that's me.
Andy, some of our listeners may remember you and your brothers from the costume contest at the Lost 2014 event. Can you refresh our memories and tell us what you went as?
That's right. Well, actually, it's a funny story because when I came back, Andrew had a birthday party, lost costume, and I turned up in the same costume I went to the costume contest as, and Andrew was actually the same at his birthday, and we were both Pierre Chang, so that was a bit awkward when I turned up the same as the birthday boy. But
I'm Asian, so it works better for me.
Yeah, it does. I was kind of put to shame a bit, but yeah, the costume party was the costume contest. I was Pierre Chang. One of my brothers, Arthur, was Jacob, and the other one was Mikhail with the eye patch.
Okay. And Andrew, if I'm not mistaken, you weren't there, right? At the costume party?
No, I wasn't there. I was I'd met a girl, you see, so I was away from the costume party. I missed it. I was with Autumn.
Right. Okay, but before we get into that, let's go back a little bit, and can you guys tell me a little of how you got into Lost, how and when in terms of the show was on the air, not on the air, things like that?
Yeah, sure. So mine was back in summer 2005. So that's when it actually aired in England on Channel 4 for the first time. So bear in mind, I'm only 24 now, so I was 12 at the time. And we were just on holiday, can't remember where, but my mum said, Andy, come in, you'll enjoy this. I came in, I can remember coming in at it was in the pilot, and it was Jack, Kate, and Charlie walking through the jungle. And I can remember after the first episode finished, I loved it. And I can actually remember when the second part started, I was actually disappointed because I actually thought the show was just those three characters. When I saw all the other characters there, I thought it wasn't going to be as good. How wrong was I? But that was basically it. And then I went home and bought the entire first season on DVD off eBay. Basically, some guy had just DVR'd it all on to pirate DVDs, and I just bought them for about a tenner and just binged it in about a week.
For me, it was actually my sister. I hadn't seen the advertisement. I'm 3 years older than Andy, so I was 15 at the time. And although you wouldn't believe it if you saw us next to each other. But I am actually 3 years older. And my sister, she said, "Oh, Andrew, there's been a show coming on Channel 4. I remember seeing the advert, actually, the advertisement. It was a very strange advertisement. Didn't think much of it at the time, actually. And I remember Emma saying to me, that's my sister, she said, "No, Andrew, you should watch this. You'll really like it." And just like Andy, after the first 2 hours, which was the pilot, when you discover that I've been this French woman 16 years, that intrigue just kind of got me hooked straight away. And then from then on, it was kind of an obsession, really. And then obviously that led me to 2014.
Okay, so wait. So it was over, if it was summer 2005, that means it had finished airing here in the States, right? Before you guys got to see it?
Yeah,
Yes.
back then we used to get stuff well late. I mean, now we like Game of Thrones will air at the same time it does for you guys, but back then 10 years ago, yeah, we got stuff like a year late. It was a bit unfair, really.
Yeah, you could buy it on DVD in the US and it would still not have been aired out here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that you said that they aired both parts of the pilot as one, because they didn't do that here. They aired one week and then part two the next week.
Oh, no, they did it. They did the whole 2 hours here.
Oh, see, that makes more sense to me.
I mean, when you consider the context of the episodes together, then I mean, personally, I think maybe because for me and Andy, we watched the two together straight away. I don't think it makes sense as two separate episodes, really. They just kind of follow on so easily from each other, don't they? So
Yeah, and if you watch them both together, any sane person would be completely gripped.
Absolutely. I mean, because well, if I remember rightly, the end of the first part is the pilot in the tree,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't think you can get a better lead on to the second part of the pilot. I mean, excuse the pun there, sorry. But yeah, I just realised what I said there. Sorry, guys. But yeah, no, I mean, that just starts straight away, seeing at the time you didn't know what it was, but as it turned out, the smoke monster grabbing the pilot and throwing him out onto the trees, it kind of threw a lot of intrigue out there.
No, I absolutely agree. I got in. Anybody who listens to the show knows that I got into the show a little late. I got in like right before season 5, so I watched.
Boo!
Yes, I know. But I got into this show then, so I watched a lot of it, like a binge watch on ABC's website. So I totally agree, and that's actually why the very first episode of this show, and almost the plan is pretty much every like multi-part episode, like the season 1 finale, things like that, are all going to be one discussion, because it just makes sense that, you know what I mean? If it's supposed to be one thing, you should discuss it as one thing or watch it as one thing. So I totally agree with you guys.
I mean, I am super jealous of you in many ways. And also when I made Autumn watch it, is that you guys could just binge watch it. I mean, I remember, because I watched it from the very beginning. So I remember the weeks in between, certain episodes, the gaps in between seasons were just a nightmare. Like having to wait 6-7 months for that next episode, especially I remember at the end of season 1 and what was in the hole, what was in there, end of season 2, just what was them people in the wherever they were in the Arctic or something, what was that red ticking light, things like that. It was just always so difficult to wait for the next season. So yeah. I am envious of you that you got to kind of just keep going.
I'd counter that and say I liked it because I think that's what made me love it the most, was the forums and all the talking in between seasons and going. And I wish I hadn't sometimes, but the reading of the spoilers and stuff, like I was just addicted to it all. Like I completely ruined the season 3 finale for myself by reading the synopsis of the episode before it had even aired, and I didn't want to, but I just had to because I was so addicted. I basically, I don't know if you're familiar with the website, but it was Dark UFO. That was basically, I was just going to that website every day.
Yes.
And my best mate's James at the time, and we'd just go there and we'd just talk.
Well, why would you do that to yourself? What inspired you to do that? No, because you knew you were ruining yourself.
I was young and I wasn't quite as wise as I was now, Andrew. It's silly of me, but I enjoyed it.
To be fair, even though I got into it late, one, I have to say that I definitely agree with both sides of the binging versus not binging.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there are pros and cons. There's definitely pros and cons to both, but.
Oh yeah, because like I did see 5 and 6 on TV, so I did have to wait week to week and then the season in between. But there were times, even when I was binging the first 4 seasons, when I would just watch and maybe go, okay, it ended on maybe not even the season, but just, okay, a major thing happened at the end of this episode. Let me wait till tomorrow, or wait, maybe a few days, let me absorb everything that I had before I go back. I've never really been one to just be like, let me watch, 4 seasons of a TV show in 2 days or something like that. But I definitely agree with certain spoilers. I would try to avoid certain things. Dark UFO, of course, was one of the ones that I would go to for like season 6. But I like to know who was going to be in certain scenes with other people, especially when season 6 came, because pretty much you knew it was going to be the end, and you knew it was going to be all crazy, and depending on who was going to be in certain scenes, you might be able to figure out, okay, maybe this is happening, maybe that's happening, or whatever. So yeah. I could totally see that. Yeah. Now, of course, we all met at Lost 2014, and Andrew, you are actually like one of the very first people that I met there. We talked several times online beforehand, because I remember when I went in to register and I'm like, Paul Casey or whatever, and you were like, and I don't want to do the accent, but you were like, Paul, and I'm like, yeah, and you were like, hey, it's me, and I'm like, hey, how are you? What's going on? And like we kind of became friendly like right then and there because we had been talking
Yeah.
on Twitter for a long time. So can you guys tell me like how you guys both got into? Well, I mean, I know how you got into Lost, but how did you become aware of Lost 2014?
For me, Lost 2014, as you know, Paul, I'm quite a regular tweeter, and I follow a lot of Lost things on Twitter, and it just kind of come up on my feed, kind of investigated it a little bit more and thought, Lost 2014, like a fan convention, been waiting for something like this for years and years. I always wonder, because you always get these shows that got fan conventions left, right, and center. For whatever reason, Lost just never really did one. Not that I'm aware of anyway, maybe I just didn't know, but finally I kind of saw an opportunity to meet like-minded people. I don't know how Andy feels like this, or indeed yourself, Paul, but I always kind of struggled to find someone that loved it as much as I did, was as passionate as I was. So to have the opportunity to kind of go out there to Hawaii, the place where it was filmed, see the locations, meet Hurley, I mean, it was like a dream come true. So I was never, ever, ever going to miss it. Whatever it cost, I was going to get there. And, it wasn't too bad, really. But and then obviously once I got there, yes, I'd been speaking to yourself, Paul, and I was already quite close with Kelly. So then I met you guys, or I met you, Paul, straight away. I was obviously friends with Kelly. And that first day we met Hurley, we all sat together. I remember it well. I remember I was shaking horribly because I had terrible stage fright when I went to meet Hurley. I walked up too early and he told me to go back because the other guy was still getting his picture taken. That was embarrassing. But then, no, he was very friendly, very nice when we met him. And, I remember we were exchanging pictures and talking about Lost and having really good conversations and questions. I remember we actually went to have a coffee and we walked down Waikiki. I remember it very well. And it was a very strange feeling. And Andy will know what I'm like. I'm a bit of a sop. So I remember just feeling very, very happy. I remember just having this overwhelming feeling of like, I'm kind of at home here. I'm with good people, and that was a happy time.
For me, my story is not quite like that. Honestly, it's quite sad actually. Now I think of it right now, I can't remember how I found out about the event. I can just remember booking a holiday with my brothers. I think we must maybe Tony found it or I found it. It was probably just on Facebook. But we knew we had to go, and we were kind of joking about it for a while because obviously we're in the UK. We never really thought we'd go to Hawaii for it, and then we did. We booked the flights, we booked the hotel. The biggest regret I have was only going for 6 days, flying halfway around the world, and it really is halfway around the world. It's like 11 hours time difference from London.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and the jet lag and everything. I mean, if I do end up going back this year, which I'm sure I will be, because I'm sure this is a segue into Andrew later, but his wedding is the week before, so it's a great opportunity to go do that. 2 birds with 1 stone. And I can remember meeting both of you for the first time. It was basically just on the bus, and I just heard another English accent. So I thought I'd said something to Andrew, and I think you were with Paul and Kelly, and we just did the tour together. That's that.
I actually, going off of what Andrew said, I definitely remember feeling like walking down, going to get, because I don't drink coffee, but I went for the walk, and I remember actually I told this story on an earlier episode. I don't know if you remember this part specifically, Andrew, but we were walking and we saw this girl and she had a Dharma t-shirt on, and it was Kelsey, who's been on the show, and I'm still good friends with her, and she was walking by, and I don't remember which one of the three of us said it, but we all kind of looked at each other and we were like, I bet you she's with the convention as well, and it turned out that she was. But no, I have to ask you guys this one though, because you and Andrew said it, like, you struggle to kind of find somebody else who maybe likes the show as much. Did either of you go into the convention thinking either I'm gonna, because if you don't have anybody in your life who likes Lost at least nearly as much as you do, you go into it thinking either I'm going to know more than all of these people, or am I going to know nearly as much as all of these people? Did you guys have either one of those feelings when going?
Yeah, well, I didn't think I'd know anywhere near as much as the guys there because, I mean, first things first, you're all American, and I just thought you'd all know more about it. But, I mean, I didn't have a worry about it because, obviously, I was going with my two brothers, and we all had similar love for it and similar knowledge. I mean, when we were growing up, we used to do lost quizzes. We'd take it in turns to write quizzes, and the other two would answer it. I mean, you can't really get much more nerdy than that, can you? But we loved it.
I love that idea.
Yeah, we've got loads of Word documents on our computers. Maybe I should print some off and bring them next time. We actually did Andrew's fiance, when he had a birthday party, she actually did a lost quiz, and it was basically me, my brother Tony, Andrew, and
Kelly was there.
Kelly, of course, and then loads of other of Andrew's friends. And obviously, we took the stage, didn't we? That was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. That's another thing. That's another thing I actually have to mention is that I mean, I feel like my world kind of just exploded from Hawaii. But I've been lucky enough to kind of, I mean, Andy having obviously living here, and you know, I found just a properly good, very good friend there. So yeah, it's good.
Thanks, buddy.
That is not the only thing you found there, because I remember hearing a story, and I hope this doesn't like make you embarrassed or anything, but I remember hearing a story from you, Andrew, about you, because you were staying, I believe you were staying in a hostel, right? Because you like, Hawaii wasn't the only place you went. Like, you were doing, like, you were going like around the world or something like that, right?
Well, I was supposed to. I was doing a tour of America. I'd gone from the east to the west coast and then flew from LA to Hawaii. So I'd been traveling for about a month before I got to Hawaii and across the US. And
Okay.
And so when I flew to Hawaii, actually there was a girl behind me in the queue for the plane. You know, you think, okay, she's nice looking. You don't think much of it, obviously, because you know you're in an airport and they're foreign most likely, and they're not from where you are, so it's obviously going to be a million and one chance that anything could come of it. Anyway, I get to the airport. She's on the same bus as me. We get chatting, and then I was there a week before the convention just to kind of settle myself in. I wanted to do some sightseeing and see some things in Hawaii that I'd kind of researched beforehand. I figured, why not? And we hung out that whole week, and and then obviously the convention, which was the main thing I was there for, and I was super happy about that. And then I ended up kind of dating this girl, and then now she's going to be my wife in like 6 months.
Yeah, I remember hearing about, like you were like, because we were getting to know each other. Like you said, we were walking around and hanging out, you and Kelly and myself, before, that was, I believe, the day before like the tour started, and you were saying like, I was in different parts of America or whatever, and you're like, but I met this girl, man. And you kept talking, and I could just see, and because I write different things, and I like to think that I can observe people really well. You just had this like sparkle in your eye when you were talking about her, and like this smile on your face every time. And I was like, I don't even know this guy, but I could tell like he clearly feels something for this girl. And, obviously it all worked out, and that's awesome. See, Lost does so many things for people.
You see, that's the funny thing, because Autumn is not a big fan of Lost, as Andy will know. But she says I always talk about it, but she, more than anything in the world, she hates it when I say, if I didn't like Lost, we never would have met. That's the one thing you cannot say to Autumn. She hates it.
Good thing I didn't say it just
is.
as I was about to then.
No, Paul. I 100% agree with you. It's true. There's no way I would have met Autumn if it wasn't for Lost. I probably would never have gone to Hawaii. Not at that moment in time, anyway. It's
you
just...
never know, though. If you watch Lost, time will auto-correct itself. You would have met her some other way, mate.
There you go. Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just meant to be. But Andy knows Autumn, and he knows how amazing she is. So
yeah,
I'm a very lucky guy.
Yeah, so that's another funny thing that obviously Lost. There's no coincidence in Lost, right? So
No.
changing the storyline a bit. I was traveling the world solo last year, and where I'm at a bus stop in
A lot of things
between.
happen to me at bus stops.
Yeah, a lot of things happen to Andrew at bus stops. He finds the two loves of his life. I'll tell you, right? So I'm at this bus stop between Chiang Mai and Pai. So Chiang Mai is northwest Thailand in the mountains, and Pai is this little town 3 hours up the mountain from there. And then I'm at a bus stop, and then I hear this other English voice, and there it is, Andrew and Autumn, halfway around the world in Thailand. No idea they were there. Just complete fate, really. And then we traveled around Pai. We rented scooters, drove around, saw the sights. Then I left to go to
Myanmar,
which is Burma. For anybody who doesn't know that. And then 3 weeks later, we met up again in Vietnam, and we did some hiking in Vietnam, and went out for some drinks in Hanoi, and yeah, just awesome time, really. It's just crazy how small the world is sometimes. I meet you in Hawaii, I see you in England, and I see you in Thailand. I mean, I can't say that about many of my friends.
Yeah, and all via coincidence, or fate, shall we say?
Yeah.
So, and
That's
now we're very
really
good friends,
awesome.
So.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good friend. I don't know what he thinks of me.
No, you're a good friend. No, you're definitely a good friend, mate.
That's really nice. I like that story. I actually remember when you guys were there, because you were posting on Facebook or something, and I remember one of the two of you is posting, like, you never know where you're going to see somebody that you know, and you posting pictures of being there together and whatever, and I remember seeing that going, that's so cool for those guys.
Yeah. And we both had a bit of Lost memorabilia with us as well, didn't we? Well, not memorabilia, but clothing. You had a Lost t-shirt and I had a Lost bag, so it made for some good pictures.
Okay, so the episode we are going to be discussing today is In Translation. And for some reason, not that many people who have been on the show previously really wanted to talk about this one. But talking with the two of you today, you both seem to have some positive thoughts about it, right? So can you tell us why you like this one versus maybe, some people who don't like this episode?
You know what? Going into it, I thought it was going to be a bit of a boring episode compared to some of the others in season one, because I think season one probably is my favorite season. But I think just in general, what I love about Lost compared to others is how brave it is putting subtitles for half an episode. I think that's just great, really showing where TV's gone. And yeah, I think that's just very brave. No other show would have done it back then, especially on like American primetime television, having half the episode in subtitles. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was beyond its time, without a doubt.
I 100% agree. And as you said, not just for television, but for American primetime television to have, subtitles, because you would think even now in 2017, people wouldn't necessarily want to be like, I want to watch my programming. I don't want to read it. But I think that kind of set this show apart to be like, you have to invest in this show. You have to want to know what's going on. You can't just have this be on in the background like a Law and Order or something. Not to take anything away from Law and Order, of course, but it's not just one that you could have on in the background.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be fully invested, and I think not just. I mean, I appreciate that it, like you said, it is in a different language for half of the episode, but just the cast in general, so diverse, so much culture in there, so different from, what you would generally expect at that time. For sure, like Andy said. So, yeah, like I said, way ahead of its time.
I have in my notes here Jin's eye. Of course, we see eyes a lot in this show, and this episode starts off on Jin's eye.
Yep. Honestly, I don't really know what that means. I don't get the whole eye thing, generally. I mean, Yeah, Andy talk.
Yeah, I agree there. I think the opening of Jack's Eye at the beginning and the closing of it at the end of the entire series is quite significant. But I think, yeah, it's
Well, I think it just became like a recurring thing.
yeah,
And for some reason, they just have a thing with body parts in the series overall. In one of the episodes before this, when Boone is in Australia, the cop that's taking down his statement has a false eye. Later on in, I believe it's season 2, we go to a location where they find a glass eye. We've seen characters with missing body, like a missing arm or something like that. So I don't know why there just seemed to be this recurring thing with just body parts in the show.
yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean that, yeah. It said, like you said, even Mikhail, like he's missing his eye, isn't he? So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely, yeah. I mean, I personally haven't picked up on that completely, like you have. Obviously, you're a bigger fan than I am, Paul. But no, when you say it, it makes sense.
That's coming from the guy who booed me because I got into the show late. Thank you.
That was just classic British, a bit of British banter. That was.
Yeah, just
Andy,
wait.
Andy gets it.
In the next bit, me and Andrew will just be abusing each other, but don't worry, it's friendly. It's just British humor.
In flashback, we get our first shot of Son's father, Mr. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Pike? Is it Pack? Is it like I don't because they say
I think it's Peck.
Peck?
I have no idea.
Sure Peck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Asian. Trust me.
Fair enough. And we see how Jin began working for Son's father, as he stated in her episode earlier this season.
Yeah, there was one thing I did notice here, and that was, did you ever realize how it was almost the same scenario as Desmond and going to Charles Widmore, and it was just that this occasion Jin gets the job, and in Desmond's he doesn't. I don't know if that's just coincidence, but it's very similar scenario.
Mm-hmm. But look how it turns out for both characters, Desmond and
badly.
Jin. Terribly.
Yeah.
It when I watched it, it made me physically hurt almost for Jin. Like you see it throughout the episode, and I think it's epitomized in one scene when he comes back with blood in his hands and he cries into the mirror, and I think you really see how broken he was, because he like you can see the timeline through that episode. When he goes to see her when she's putting on her dress to get married, and he gives her the flower, a lot like he does when she finally decides to go with him to Australia on the plane. But you can see the real difference in where he goes in terms of his arc, from between the point where he talks to her when they're getting married and then when they're about to fly to the island. He is a broken man. He is, her father has basically like taken him completely away from who he is, and it's like that. I find that quite difficult to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
So then, well, one, I have to point out that, Andy, you use the word coincidence, and of course anyone who knows the show knows that saying. But now, could you argue that maybe, because you said about Desmond, do you think that maybe he was saved from that kind of broken, Andrew said about how Jin is, a very broken man because he went to work for the love of his life's father. So do you think maybe it saved Desmond, despite how upset he was? He, maybe got saved from that same torture later on.
Yeah, you're probably right. Although it has just occurred to me that when Desmond goes, he's actually just asking for her hand in marriage, isn't he? I can't really remember correctly, but yeah, anyway.
But I mean, well, realistically, that's kind of what Jin is asking as well, because he says about, he wants, his son is his dream more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think there are subtle differences, because I think Jin, he went there with the intention of, I want the approval, and he was offered a job. And I think he then was kind of forced into a corner almost. Desmond openly went in there willing to be like, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm prepared to do for the approval of Charles Whitmore. I think there are subtle differences there. And I think actually we say he potentially may have been spared, but in reality, because he didn't get the approval, that almost broke him. So I think there are subtle differences there. The scenario is the same, but the outcome is slightly different.
Yeah. Desmond's your favorite character, right, Andrew?
100%. I absolutely love Desmond. He's in most of my favorite episodes of the show. Again, I don't want to throw in too many spoilers, but my favorite scene of the whole show is season 4 when he calls Penny. Just for me, that just is magnificent. I tear up every time. Not ashamed to admit it.
Don't be.
Then on the island, Jin sees Sun wearing a bikini, but to him, she's practically flaunting it all. I noticed. And I also noticed she has some abs going on. Little strange. I never noticed that before.
Yeah,
well,
she's
this is the thing.
Lady, to be fair.
I've always said Sun is one of the hottest girls on Lost, but a lot of people disagreed, and I think that is racist.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
No, I think she is. I think she's up there with some of the best.
Yeah, I don't particularly like her character that much. I think as the series goes on, I like Jin more and more, but I like Sun less and less. Personally, that's just my preference. But Jin, I love Jin.
Yeah, but I think you're right, and I think one of the reasons why I do still like her though is because she is so closely associated with Jin, obviously, and Jin again is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And because his career, his character development is so good.
Yeah, he is. But season 1 Sun is fine. I'm happy with Sun in this episode.
Well, back to the taking off her like the bikini. It's kind of like they're at two different points when they get to the island. Like Jin is still this man that's very angry, very upset with the fact that her father has done this to him. He's driven a wedge between him and Sun. Sun is at this point where she's kind of like, I'm in this island. I'm finally free from my father. Finally in a place where Jin can't control me because I'm not under like this Korean culture. And it's almost like a way of saying, look, this is me. I'm here. I'm free, and this is how I want to be. And I kind of like that scene. And when Jin comes over, it's kind of like that paradigm of like, no, I am not ready for that. Jin's at a much less advanced stage at this point of the show in terms of letting go, shall we say. And again, letting go is very much a prevalent idea within the show as well. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think you're right, especially because she planning on leaving him and going to traveling, whatever, presumably going to America to be free. So I think she has a little bit of that mindset as well of like, I was going to America, we were going here, there, whatever. And I would be more free. So I might as well start here,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think at that point of the show, they know that no one's coming to get them. Like we're 17 episodes in. I don't know how long in the timeline we are in terms of the show, maybe a month. And they know they're going to be there for a while at this point. So I think also that is part of it.
Yeah, and we've all been to Hawaii. We know how hot it is.
we know you got to get your clothes off.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You get off the plane, you're undressing yourself.
Yeah.
Well, some of you. Some of us don't like the way our bodies look, so.
Oh, no, Paul, there's nothing wrong with that body, mate. You should get it out more.
Yeah.
They all see the couple fighting, but clearly everybody else is used to it, because I believe one of them even says, like, oh, there they go again.
That's Jack. Yeah, Jack says, here they go again, yeah.
And Michael stands up for Sun, but then Sun slaps him in the face for it.
I think, like she says in the show, she is just protecting him, because at this point, Jin is, I use that word again, broken. He's very much, like, angry that wedge is in between him and Sun. He doesn't want anyone else getting in there. And then it's like almost betrayal to him that, he would even attempt to get involved in something as personal as that. And remember, they're from a very different culture. They're from a culture of, what's our business is very much our business. I mean, it's very much like that in most places, but in a country like that, where it's a little bit more traditional, a little bit more strict in terms of like marriages and things. I think, maybe I'm getting into it a bit too much, but I think that's definitely a part of it as well.
I think mainly it's probably. I mean, we've all seen. I mean, I know later on Michael gets quite a good few punches on Jin, but in general, Jin would probably destroy Michael. We've all seen him in a fight in other flashbacks.
Agreed.
So I think Sun's basically just protecting Michael from basically getting his head bashed in by Jin.
Actually, because my very next note is that Jin finally questions if there is something going on between Sun and Michael, because I think that's what he thought. Now, what do you guys think, especially having seen it from the very beginning? What do you guys think about how kind of in like the first half of the season, at least, they seem to be hinting at a love triangle between these three?
I never noticed that, but I mean, I could see what it would look like from the outside. It would look like Sun and Michael would have something going on. But from the viewers, we know it's because Michael is the only one that knows she can speak English. So I think for me, it just stops there. I'd never really noticed a love triangle there.
I don't know. Maybe it's subconsciously hinting towards the later part of the show where she does have an affair. I mean, maybe it's hinting almost that it potentially could happen now, and it has happened in the past. But again, I kind of agree with Andy. I think it kind of doesn't really go much further than just coincidence, really.
You know what? I think it would have been great, actually. I'd never really thought of that. I reckon it really could have shaken things up if if Sun and Michael had got together. Definitely not Jin and Michael. God.
I was going to say, if Jin and Michael got together, it would definitely shake things up.
That would be fantastic. Primetime America, Asian and black together. Wow, bloody hell. And men. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 2017 now. We'd all be all right with that. But back in 2004, yeah, it was...
2004, that was frowned upon.
To Andrew's point of, the fact that she did have an affair in the past, and whether, because I don't think they flat out said, but because Jin knew, or at least it was hinted that he knew that she was having an affair, because her father said, hey, this guy, you need to go after this guy because he's stealing from me or whatever. And, we knew what that actually meant. But so it wouldn't be so far-fetched for Jin to be like, well, is there something going on with you guys? Then we see Sun getting ready to get married in her flashback. And Jin sees her, and he's really flirty with her, which is a side of him we didn't really see on the island or anything like that so far. So I thought that was nice that he we got to see a different side of him there.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah.
Such a different Jin from, especially it's like the first time you're watching it, the first time you see the real Jin.
And I think that's what kind of makes it so hard to watch in many ways, is because, I mentioned it earlier, I kind of touched upon it. You kind of see the difference of where he was and what he is now. And just, it's plain to see what a good guy he is, what he can be. And obviously he goes on to later prove that in later seasons in the show. But at that point, it's just horrible to see. It's horrible, but also nice to see, like Andy said.
And they argue about her father, because of course they do. That seems to be their thing, is arguing about her father.
There's only really one plot line throughout the whole of their flashbacks, isn't it? And that's around Jin, Sun, and her father.
I wonder if that's why a lot of people don't like them, because they didn't really have different things going on. It all just kind of revolved around that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think there's that much story in their backstory as compared to somebody like Locke or someone, where I suppose that's all his dad as well, but that's a bit more interesting.
You have the element of the fact that that island healed him and things like that. So there are different elements. Whereas and with Jack, you have slightly different elements. Also with his dad, but then his inability to let go, and with Desmond, also he has issues in the sense of Penny, but also he has many other sides to him. But I tend to agree with you that it is kind of one-dimensional, shall we say, between Sun, Jin, and the father. It's kind of like a three-way, and that's kind of how it goes. But I still think the character development of Jin kind of sells it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hang on a minute. Autumn just piped up and said, I love Jin. So there you go. Autumn loves Jin. Pop that in your podcast.
On the island, Sun goes and she explains herself to Michael, which of course we touched on a bit earlier. That's where she says, like, I was doing that to protect you. And he's just like, yeah, no, I understand. Like, I think at that point he just didn't want anything to do with her. And I don't blame him.
Yeah, I think he's at the point where he's like, I'm trying to do the good citizen thing. I'm trying to help you out. What's this guy doing, kind of thing to you. He obviously doesn't know the story. So in many ways, I'm kind of annoyed that he's getting involved, because why can't he be like everyone else and just be like, you know what, their business is their business. But I understand where he's coming from. But I think, like you say, at that point where he's jumped in and then she has literally slapped him in the face in front of him, he's like, well, yeah, there's not much appreciation going on over here, so I'll just keep my nose out from now on.
Yeah.
And then we see Jin is golfing with rocks. And I wrote something to occupy his time or to get his frustrations out.
Well, I actually wrote a comment down saying hitting stones with a golf, whatever they are, golf bat.
Golf club.
Golf club, whatever. I don't play golf. I said, hitting golf balls is hard enough, let alone rocks. Bloody hell.
I was watching it thinking, I was watching it as somebody who does play golf occasionally. That must be that must be a bad way to. They've only got one set of golf clubs, so they're going to damage him if they're just hitting rocks.
Yeah, actually, I think that too when I watch it.
Such a practical way of thinking about it. Only a British person would say that. Oh, he's damaging his golf clubs.
Hold on, the Americans like golf more than us.
Oh, do they?
The Americans love a bit of golf. Three of the ages are in the States. Anyway, we're going off the course.
Oh, hang on, they've done a pun there.
there is a pun there.
There is a pun. He's gone off course, mate.
Well, see, it's funny, though, in terms of golf, like you said, like Americans like it, it's very much like 50-50. You can enjoy it, or there's a joke from the Gilmore Girls where he says to the granddaughter, like, what do you know about golf? And she says, it's a good walk spoiled. So it's very much like...
Yeah, I basically gave up playing golf last year. I played just because it is... You realise that you're just walking around and you spend the whole time frustrated. It's not like
right, as opposed to your football where it's just kicking a ball back and forth across a field. That's,
Right, it's a bit more complicated.
Whoa.
It's a bit more complicated than that, but we'll let you have it.
Let's not get into that, Paul.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like when I play football or basketball, I'm enjoying it the whole time. Whereas golf, I'm basically frustrated the whole time.
That's a sign that you're not very good, mate.
Yeah, that's why I gave up. That's why I gave up.
Yeah, but anyway, I in terms of like that scene, I just love Hurley's contribution. I think that just kind of sums up his character, especially in the first season. Obviously, in the later seasons, he becomes a lot more involved in kind of the more serious side, and then obviously he has the big sort of lasting role on the island towards the end of the show, or at the end of the show, shall I say? But just in terms of his like humor, trying to keep everyone together, and even approaching a situation like that, and we know that walk is quite a long way from the beach, obviously from the first episode, sorry. So to walk all the way out there, a man of his size, he's made a real effort to kind of, try and cheer him up, and I love that part of it.
Yeah, it's cute with the fishing rods as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, come on. I do have a note about that to kind of tee off of what you were saying. No,
he's done
golf
it again.
pun. Yeah, no, I did.
He's teed off now. We're off course and he's teeing off.
But no, I do have about how that. Let me see. How do I have it? We've seen the Hurley and Jin several times together so far in the series, and we know they go on to form quite the bond. And this scene, of course, furthers that. And I always like their bond a little bit more, but everyone else seems to focus on Hurley and Charlie in terms of like the Hurley friendship kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hurley just has a great relationship with everybody. You could pick anybody, and I love his. He has great interactions with every character, a great chemistry.
Absolutely. I have Saeed is surprised, quote, a woman like Shannon, unquote, knows how to tie knots. I'm not quite sure what he means by that. Seems a little
To tie
disrespectful.
knots in men. That's what I mean. She is by far my least favorite character. I just despise Shannon. I thought
Yeah.
she was annoying, spoiled. I'm glad she got shot.
I never realized it until I never realized it until a few watches over, like I say, like third or fourth rewatch, how much I didn't like Shannon. Because, like I say, when I started watching it, I would have been 12 up to about 16 or whatever. And I mean, any boy that age probably just loves Shannon, fairly so. But yeah, she's definitely not. She's not one of my favorite characters at all. Yeah.
Now,
I just thought she
have
was
to
whiny,
admit,
she was annoying. She treated Boone terribly, and she.
I do have to ask you guys though. You don't think at any point there's a sympathy to be had for Shannon because she is a victim of circumstance in terms of her stepmother, which of course it's Disney, so an evil stepmother isn't so far fetched. But, you know, she did have a stepmother who wasn't so great to her. Like, she came in and, you know, all of a sudden, you know, her father was paying attention to somebody else. And because the mom had the father's ear and the mom, of course, had the son, it being her son, he may have been looked at more as the favorite and things like that. So you don't think she was at all a victim of circumstance?
She didn't help herself though, Paul. She didn't help herself, mate.
She just lies on the beach tanning, and
no, like she.
Well, right,
she,
but after a certain point in your life, if everybody, it's like when somebody is bad in school. I don't know if it's the same way over there as it is over here, but I know because I know people who were like this in school. After a certain point, if teachers and everybody else told them like you're not good, you know, whatever, like you know, you can't be an A student, they just gave up trying because they were like, okay, this is my life, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is who I'm gonna be. So they you know, went down that path of like they weren't good enough, even though if somebody actually took the time to realize, like one could argue Saeed did with Shannon, they were good enough to do more than everybody pigeonholed them into doing.
maybe. But I mean, my point. I think our points are. I would rather. There are so many other characters. I would rather have on my television screen. I'd rather have an extra 5 minutes of Jack or an extra 5 minutes of Locke than these 5 minutes that you get with Shannon. Basically, I mean, yeah, there are characters I like far more.
I think the Lost was a great show, full stop. But in terms of its ability for viewers to empathize with characters, it was unbelievable. And I just don't think at any point did I ever, in answering to your question quite simply, Paul, I don't ever think I really did sympathize with Shannon. Like, yes, like you said, there were certain scenarios, and you know, with the getting into university and the money that she should have been given, and yes, okay, she's a victim of circumstance, but you know, it's how I felt like other characters put in the same situation would have dealt with it a lot better and wouldn't have been such a, to coin a phrase, spoiled little brat.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I don't disagree with you on that, but I know, like, for example, some people really don't like Kate, you know, but as Mike, the photographer, pointed out, we're all watching this from an outsider perspective. You know, like everybody always says, like, oh, Kate just followed everybody and she never listened and this, that, and the other thing whenever they want to say negative things about her. But we weren't in the same situation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
I'll put it out there.
Yeah, go on.
I'm also not a big fan of Kate.
Yeah, I do like Kate, but I do sometimes find her annoying. But I think her character is extremely valuable to the show. It's valuable for the development of characters I do love, like Sawyer and Jack. So
she was an integral.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. She was integral to other characters' development.
Whereas Shannon gave literally nothing to the show. Sorry, I'm going a bit harsh now. She did give some stuff, but you know, she doesn't have that aura that Kate had.
Actually, continuing on with the notes, Andy, I guess this note would be more directed at you. and not just you, but maybe the 12-year-old version of you. And then we won't really talk about Shannon much more. I wrote because they're talking about he says about tying knots and whatever, and then I have after an exchange, she comments about getting rope for the two of them on a Saturday night. He's left speechless, and then there's that slight smile.
Yeah, that's probably me ready to go get the roll of toilet paper, or is that a bit too X-rated? This podcast, I don't know. It's a bit naughty, right?
Yeah, dirty bastard. Keep that part in.
That was 12-year-old Andy. I've matured a little bit since then, just a little bit.
A little bit.
He's moved on to more better stuff now.
I put Walt still has no interest in his father's interests.
Walt for me, Walt either should have been killed in the show.
Killed?
Wow.
Kill kids. You can't kill kids yet on television. But carry on.
Kill kids. But for me, he either should have been killed, or they should never have cast him in the first place. He just didn't fit. If they knew that what the story was going to be, if they knew that they were going to jump around timelines, if they knew that the show was going to run, leave the island for 3 years, that they knew he was going to outgrow the show. So for me, they either should have cast him and used him for the kid line of like the others taking him, and they should have killed him, or they should have never cast him in the first place.
I think they used Walt well. I think it added a nice little extra dimension to it. It's like all the constant questions of why is he special and like he appearing places. I think I liked Walt. His character was a bit annoying. Like in this episode especially, he was a bit irritating, but I liked the extra dimension it added, that just extra... Yeah,
but
extra
it added a dimension that made no sense.
I definitely agree with Andy's opinion that it worked. I think they worked around what you were talking about, Andrew, very well, of like, they did write him out for a little bit and things like that. But I also think that it added in terms of all of these people. We have single people, we have married people, we have criminals, we have this, we have that. But you just need, especially as we talked about earlier, the fact that like the show represented a wide range of people, a wide range of ethnicities and languages and things like that. You need to have a child for it to be even slightly believable that maybe a parent and child had survived this plane crash.
To be fair,
an all-around thing.
48 survived, you'd expect more to be kids.
But why couldn't they have killed him off? It would have been so much better if they killed him.
Well, they could have, I suppose. They could have. How would you, if you rewrote an episode of season 1 and you could kill Walt, how would you kill him, Andrew?
He would have died on the raft for me.
I would have died on the raft.
Yeah, he would have died. He would have died on the raft. Yeah, actually, maybe not. Maybe he would have been taken, and then they would have found him in a tree like the pilot.
I don't know, because then we couldn't have gotten one of my favorite lines later on of taller ghost Walt.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm with you, Andrew.
Yeah, well, we can't always agree, mate. So, but no, I wasn't a huge fan of Walt. I must be honest. Like,
he doesn't like the women. He doesn't like the kids. What's with this guy?
To be fair,
Well, no, it sounds wrong, but no, I like the fact that he was in it, but I just didn't like what they did with his character. They didn't explain anything. They took him out, took him in. He looked way too old when John Locke saw him. It didn't fit the timeline at all. He looked like 10 years older than what he was, not 3 years. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like what they did with his character. If they were going to write him in for longer, then they should have found a way to fit the timeline to his growth.
I definitely agree with that. I think they could have done more or done better, but I think the way they handled it wasn't the worst.
But then he just kind of disappeared, didn't he? He left the island, then that was it. He was gone.
Well, yeah, but then they got to use him in the present timeline.
Yeah, and you wait for the reboot, Andrew, in like 10 years' time, where it's just like Aaron, Walt, and whatever the Jin's son kids called Ji-on or whatever. They have a spin-off on the island where Walt's leading it, and then you'll be loving him. Telling you.
Yeah, maybe. But I talking of spin-offs, I hope that never happens.
Yeah, so as soon as I said that, I was like, what have I just said? That'd be awful.
Yeah, don't ruin what was a fantastic show. It will go, for me, it will go down in history as one of the best shows ever made, best TV shows ever. It was we touched upon it earlier, but it was groundbreaking. It was, no doubt about it. It was ahead of its time. It's a fantastic show. Brilliant. Unbelievably good.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that.
Jack tells Michael about the talk of who's going on the raft, and Sawyer reveals himself to be one of the passengers on the raft. So that's like the first time we get the kind of sense, at least 3 of the 4 people, of who's going.
Yeah, I think Sawyer adds such a great dimension to that raft trip when it finally goes out. To be fair, the cast is so diverse. Any 4 people would be pretty diverse, but Sawyer adds a pretty good element to it, and it's the first time you really see the economics of the island working there. What people use to bargain with to do different things. Whether it's with Sawyer's case with I can't remember what he needed. It was the long poles for the raft, so he buys his way on. But obviously later on it becomes like guns and things like trading medicine and playing poker with food. It's great how money works on the island.
Right. Kate and Sun are talking about Jin, and they notice that everyone is running and yelling because the raft is on fire. And Michael suspects only one person. And everybody else seems to think that Jin did it as well.
Definitely, he's the only person it could have been at that point, I think.
Yeah, I think the way the episode had gone, I think there was only one real character with any type of motive, really, that we were aware of. Obviously, we learn later on the reasons behind why this one particular person chose to do it. A person, we know I'm not a huge fan of, Clue. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the characters in that episode, I mean, you would have no choice but to assume it would be Jin. But obviously, it's not. So who is it? Ooh.
I think even if I probably hadn't watched this episode in a while, the biggest Lost fan I am, I could probably accidentally forget it and think it was Jin again. It was that they pushed it so much towards that.
Yeah, and I think that's the aim of the producer anyway, is to make you think that it's Jin. It wants you to think so. That's what gives it the shock factor when you find out who it actually is. So they're constantly pushing through the episode to get that, and then it kind of counteracts the fact that Jin's going through this real bad period, and that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were real clear with it there at the end. And then Sun finds Jin with the burns, and he seems guilty, and even she thinks he's guilty. But all he seems to care about is the fact that she's siding, quote unquote, with Michael, because he's like, Michael, Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jin could have saved himself a whole load of embarrassment if he just told her that it wasn't him. But he decides to just storm off, basically.
I just think a large part of it as well is I feel like he's just kind of internally punishing himself, is what I kind of viewed from it. I think he's so angry. Like, how dare you assume, like a little bit like what Andy said, how dare you assume that I would even be capable of doing something like that. And obviously from Sun's perspective, which you've seen in the episode, the things that he has done, like beating up this guy, although we know he's done it to save his life. From Sun's point of view, it's like, wow, I mean, this is a guy I'm married to, and he's like, smashing someone's head in for my dad. So I think, I've totally forgotten what I was going to say.
To be fair, Sun does. I think Sun does think he didn't do it. I don't think Sun really does think he did it, but she just wants an explanation. But he doesn't. He doesn't give her the satisfaction. He just leaves.
In the flashback, Jin gets a promotion and he is told to deliver a message to someone. Of course, his naivete, he has no idea what that actually means. And then he arrives at the man's house and he sees Hurley on the TV, which I always think is one of those nice little, character moments that they have where, the 6 degrees of separation type thing.
Yeah, nice little bit. They do. Lost was so good at doing that, adding those little bits in all the time. And Hurley's, I think you see Hurley on the TV a few times in a few different people's flashbacks. Don't ask me which other ones they're in because I can't remember. But
yeah, I always like those clever little moments because it's so subtle. I honestly never noticed any of them. I only picked up on them when people would tell me about them.
Yeah, like I don't know how many times the numbers pop up in like every episode. It's crazy.
The man is scared, but upon Jin actually delivering the message instead of delivering the message, the man gives him the dog we saw Jin give to Sun in her earlier flashback.
Yeah, Pop.
I think Jin's won this situation. He's got a dog out of it.
Yeah. and a cute one, to be fair.
Yeah.
Saeed approaches Boone about his intentions with Shannon, which always, we've talked a few times about how, like, in an earlier episode, Boone says that he got over Shannon pretty much, and then in this episode, there's still like some tension, and even Saeed has gone, several times to be like, I don't understand what his, deal is with her and whatever, and yet he still goes and they talk about it. Like, if I were Saeed, I would have just been like, I don't really care, because he even says, like, I wasn't asking your permission, so why would he even go to him in the first place?
Well, he says, doesn't he? He said he was extending a courtesy as her brother, like on this, island. It's essentially like, when you start dating someone, I mean, it may be considered quite traditional, but you would go to like a family member or a friend, a close friend, and say, are you cool with this or whatever? Maybe it doesn't happen as prevalent now as it maybe once was, but I think in the situation they're in, Saeed has said, because he is a good man and he was willing to do that. Even though, as you say, Paul, it's probably not something he needed to do at all, but he did it. And I think also he kind of wanted to talk to Boone in a way, because even he subconsciously suspects that Shannon is a little bit, shall we say, unclear on what she really wants at any given time. And I think going to Boone was kind of us saying,
you worded that well.
Yeah, that was very, very politically correct. Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. Hey, come on, that was impressive on my part because I don't like Shannon at all.
No, I know you don't. I thought you were going to come straight out and say, "Well, I feel like I can't say it now, so I'll leave it." But yeah. Carry on with your monologue. Carry on.
He's a bitch. No. Shannon's all right in her own weird, strange, and in different ways.
But I think Saeed did that because there aren't many of them. There's 48 of them, or I don't know. Maybe they've lost a couple by now. But it's important to not make enemies, and I don't think it would be worth losing Boone as a ally to Saeed.
That's yes, you guys obviously brought up very good points. I didn't think of it in that way of like, well, it is such a small community and things like that. So yeah. Jin is washing his hands in the stream when Sawyer comes up and kicks him, and he calls him Chief. Yet another Sawyer nickname, kinda. Shannon is then hanging a tarp, and she's trying to flirt with Saeed, but he's unsure after what Boone told him, because that's when he said about, she likes older men who can take care of her and whatever, and he starts to get a little bit of doubt. And she knows, like, immediately Boone got to him.
Did you think those bits were acted well or not? I actually found it watching it this time back, the bits between Shannon and Saeed a bit just, like, almost forced. Like, Well, maybe it's because I feel it's just a completely unnecessary relationship that didn't need to be there. But I don't.
Yeah.
Shannon goes to find Boone, but she finds Locke instead, and Locke tells her that all Boone wants is Shannon's attention. And again, this somewhat contradicts the revelation that Boone had a few episodes ago, which I don't, they never quite explain that. And I mean, a few episodes from now, it doesn't really matter, but like that kind of bugged me a little bit. But either way, Locke tells Shannon that everyone gets a new life on the island and that she should start hers.
Yeah, I love that line. Because I think it's also prevalent because he'd done it with Boone 2 episodes earlier, or 1 episode earlier, whenever it was. So I think it's kind of his way of saying that, well, I mean, I know it contradicts it and we all agree on that, but I think he's like, you know, your brother's done it, so why are you still stewing over what your brother thinks? Just move on, get on with it. Sides here and obviously interested in you, just get on with what makes you happy, Shannon. And obviously she does, and then, you know.
Sawyer has Jin tied up and is taunting him. That's 2 different things of being tied up in this episode, I just noticed. And he even calls him Bruce, and he references Lord of the Flies, which is kind of like a recurring thing on the show. In flashback, Sun has prepared a lovely dinner for Jin, and he even ignores work for her at first. And then finally, you know, he has to go see her father, and the father says that he needs to learn how to deliver a message. And then upon seeing the man, you know, putting on gloves and a silencer on his gun and everything like that and giving instructions for a getaway, Jin goes in to beat up the man. And as we've said, you know, pretty much saving his life in the process.
Yeah, for sure he saved his life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing he had to do there, but he knew it was either that or, you know, it's always a bad thing when a guy is holding a gun wearing gloves. You know he's only going to go in there doing one thing, and that's to kill the guy off. So, you know, I think he went in there and he was like, I've got to do something he did not want to do. And you see it in the next scene when he's in the house and he's crying into the mirror. That's something he did not want to do. But it was forced upon him, you know, by her father because he so desperately wants Son in his life. It's quite sad, really. It's quite upsetting to see that the lengths he's being pushed to. So.
Yeah.
I've still never quite understood why Son's father makes Jin work this way. I assume it's just because he's a truly bad man and he doesn't really care. But I can't see how yes, Mr. Pike, or how we say his name, wants Jin to Mr. Pike, sorry, wants Jin to work for him, so that he can be close to his daughter still. But I mean, there's absolutely no. I mean, it's obviously going to ruin Jin. So I've never quite understood why he needs to do this.
I think it's touched upon quite a lot in their flashbacks. Do you think it's based on where he's from in terms of the class system? You think it's
maybe.
Like proving a point that like you're not really good enough for my daughter, so I'll make you do things that, you know, I give to people I don't really necessarily care about. If you are like, because I mean they were all for the other guy, weren't they? You know, the guy she had an affair with, because he, you know, his father owned hotels and so they were all for him. But because Jin was from, you know, a fisherman or whatever, or a prostitute, or, you know, as we find out later on, maybe that's kind of one of the reasons why he does that to him.
See, I might disagree,
I think you're probably
though.
right.
I might disagree because I think maybe I think he gave him a job because, you know, he said the right line of like, you know, son is my dream. But I know like the portrayal of, you know, I don't want to necessarily just say like the mafia, but things like that in American media, that you often give certain jobs like that. Sometimes you give them to people that you don't like and you don't mind if they, you know, die or whatever because they are expendable. But then other times you give the jobs like that to the people, you know, like your son-in-law or whatever, because you want them to feel closer to you, you know, like kind of get into the family business kind of thing.
No, I don't think that was the way it was portrayed, like thought of by him. I think it was a way of saying, asking him to go to extreme lengths and almost a test to see if he could break him, which he came very close to doing. It was only the island that saved them. It sounds cheesy, but like it did. I have to disagree with you, Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what you said, Paul, makes a lot of sense, and how you said about how to bring maybe a son-in-law closer, and maybe at the time that was the idea from Mr. Pike, whatever you bloody call him. But now it evolves. That definitely didn't happen. They definitely didn't get any closer. There was always this this gap between them. They were never really family, were they?
No, you're right. Although, to be fair, when you guys brought up like the man that she had the affair with, like he, when he called Jin in to go after that guy, he said, like, I don't remember if he said he's stealing from me or he's stealing from us or whatever. But I mean, they didn't go forward with it, but I always thought that could have been like a better moment for them to do that father-in-law, son-in-law bonding thing. Even if Jin never exactly found out why, like what this guy was stealing, quote unquote. But I always thought that could have been the moment to kind of kick that into gear.
Yeah, for the story anyway, it wouldn't have made any sense if they did bond, because obviously Sam and Jin needed to leave. So I suppose that answers that question.
Yeah.
And of course, all of that leads into the flashback of him coming into the house, of Jin coming into the house all bloody, and that's when Sun slaps him. Now, I do remember reading something about how there might have been a bit of a continuity error here, because a day or so before, the man gave them the dog and it was small, and then this happens, and then the dog is like fully grown. So I don't quite know.
Well, the dog's obviously eating a lot of pedigree chum.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if this necessarily had to. Yeah. I'm not sure if this necessarily had to be a day or two after. I think it could have been months after. Just because Jin went and delivered the first message and he got given the dog. That could have been like, I think the guy owned a factory. Maybe it took a month or two for this factory to really decline. And then that's when Sun's father realized, hold on a second, Jin didn't actually deliver this message properly. Goes back and realizes, and that's why it's actually a few months later. But that's just a way it could be portrayed. It could still be a couple of days after, but I hadn't really thought of that until you said that. So
that makes sense. I like that, because I mean, like you said, it is a factory, and it may take a little bit for the information to get back up to Mr. Andrew. Say it.
Peck.
There we go. Thank you. To get up to, because that's how I'm just gonna do it from now on. If it comes up, I'm just gonna direct it to you, and I'll take his voice clip and just put it in there every time now.
Well, I've told you, like I'm the Asian one here, so I can do the Asian names.
Exactly. That's why we've got you.
Yeah, I'm just here because it's an Asian episode. How racist is this podcast? This is bullshit.
Yeah, maybe we should stand for this. Can't stand for this. You need to give us a Desmond episode.
I'm just going to be on every Sun and Jin episode.
Michael wants Jin's head. And here we see, I had referenced this in a previous episode during the discussion of House of the Rising Sun, where it was hinted at the fact that when Sun was listening to everybody else, she could hear everybody in perfect English. But in this episode, when Jin can't understand everybody, it's because he doesn't speak English. And if I'm not mistaken, what he's hearing is actually the dialogue that they said, just played in reverse, so it sounds like just mumbles and whispers and things. And that's when Michael punches Jin, finally, and Jack wants to break it up, but both Sawyer and Saeed basically tell Jack that he needs to back off so Michael and Jin can handle this.
Yeah, and that's even, I think that further references the point that Sawyer made earlier, that this is Lord of the Flies. I think that kind of it's said, and then this is kind of like the physical action of that, where Jack is this kind of guy that's still, I feel, living in what he would like a civilized society to be, but he's starting to realize even in himself that this is not what it is anymore. This is Lord of the Flies essentially. So it's kind of let him get on with it. We have a problem here, let's sort it out this way, which is maybe not the right way to do it. We probably agree between the three of us it's not, but that's just the way it is now. And I think there's a moment, there's a second, I don't know if you notice it, where there's a look on Jack's face, a look of just despondency that this is what it's come to now.
Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean, obviously it's better having these fights because it's good TV. But could you imagine if the 21st century a plane actually crashed, 40 people survived, mainly Americans, like Western people? Could you imagine how civilized it would probably really be on that beach? I mean, there wouldn't be fights. I mean, every character in this show throws a punch at somebody at some point. That really wouldn't happen in real life, would it?
I mean, it depends the scenarios of what happened. I mean, if they're put under the extreme stress that they are, like there's things moving in the woods, seeing pilot getting, strung up and put in a tree with his guts hanging out. It can push buttons. You never know how people are going to react in extreme situations. But I tend to agree. I mean, it's television, so it's obviously going to be a little bit more overhyped.
My point there is saying that Jack. It's strange that out of all those people watching, Jack's the only one who's going to try and break up that fight. In real life, everybody would try and break that up, or you'd hope they would. Even though, they do need to sort it out. But yeah,
that's the thing, is like they've almost had this fight several times now, and it's just been building and building and building, and eventually, I think sometimes you just gotta release that tension. So I think that's to the point where they were at, where Sawyer referencing his thing, and as Andrew said about Lord of the Flies, Sawyer said it in one of the very first episodes, they're all in the wild now, and after a certain point, and it could be a matter like it happens at the end of this episode, where it's like, okay, they fight, and then that's it. I know in like school and things like that, often that was the case. People would get into arguments, and then it would break out into a fight, and then afterwards they're like, yeah, we're cool, yeah, okay, we're cool, and that was just it. Like, it was never brought up again.
Yeah, I mean, there is that phrase, isn't it? Sort it out like men. I mean, I don't really know what that phrase necessarily means. It can have a number of meanings, but I think that's kind of something it references to, where it's like, just fight, punch, whatever it has to happen, just sort it out and let's move on.
Yeah.
And then Sun finally breaks and yells in English, and everyone is surprised no one else more than Jin. And Hurley even comments, didn't see that coming.
Man, the acting here was superb from every single one of them. They all looked completely surprised, and especially Jin. It was just, this bit was gold. It even got my heart going a little bit watching it for like the 10th time, probably more times than that actually. Yeah, this bit was good. Everybody pitched in on this. It was good.
And she explains that Jin was trying to put the fire out, and she speaks Korean to him, but he just looks at her like she's someone that he doesn't even know. And that's kind of accurate, actually.
Yeah,
keeping a secret like this is just, Sorry, you go, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's kind of like the ultimate betrayal, isn't it? Because of what, like we've been referencing to for a lot during this episode or this podcast. We've been saying that they're coming from two different sides of the spectrum, Jin and Sun. Like, she thinks he's turned into this really bad guy, but she doesn't really understand what he's having to go through to keep their relationship going. And then he is angry, and he let's be honest, in the first season or until this episode, actually, he's a bit of a bastard, really. And you think we're kind of thinking, why is he like this? But obviously, how he's been treated previously by the father, and what lengths he's had to go to. It's like now he's learning that she's kept this massive secret from him, and obviously the thing with Michael, where he thinks that she's probably doing something behind his back. It's a horrible thing for Jin to have to encounter, and add to that the embarrassment in front of everyone that they're they're living with and got to know over the past month. That's horrible, horrible thing to deal with. You can understand why he's so angry.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I would really, really have to love somebody to be able to let this one, to be able to forgive someone for this, because any normal person, it's like, this is just a complete no. Well, I say no normal person. Obviously, they've got to mean enough for you for this secret to be a big deal, but it's it's a deal breaker. She's kept speaking a completely different language that where everybody on this island speaks, apart from those two people, and she keeps that from them. It could have made, yeah.
And now he finds out he's all on his own, which he thought he was.
Now he finds out he's on his own. Yeah. How alone does he feel now?
It's like a double blow. It's like a triple blow.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think what you said was right a second ago, Andrew. Is that I think up to this point, Jin was probably, watching it first time round, Jin was probably my least favourite character. But from this point,
he was up there with Shannon. Honestly,
yeah, he was probably
Shannon with me.
Well, actually, not the first time I watched. The first time I watched it, I quite liked Shannon. Hey.
Yeah, we know you did.
It's only as it's gone on, my like for Shannon has decreased substantially, and my love for Jin has increased. So.
Oh, I love.
Not saying anything about my sexuality, but yeah.
No. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say it, but I was thinking it.
Yeah, I love Shannon less. I love Jin more. The order I've got. Okay.
I'll say it on tape. I'm a heterosexual male.
It's 2017. That stuff doesn't matter anymore. At least not over here.
Yeah.
Here neither. You can be anything you want to be.
And then Sawyer calls son Betty. Now, I tend to reference pretty much every nickname that Sawyer gives, and I've gotten almost all of them, but this one I actually had to look up, and it was a reference to Betty White from the TV game show Liars Club, like long before any of us were even born.
Out of interest, Paul, sorry to interrupt you, Andy. If you had to give a Sawyer nickname to Andy and me, what would you give us? And obviously you can't call me Bruce, because that's too obvious.
I don't even know.
It's too obvious.
Yeah, it is. You're just going for the racist Asian thing again.
I loved Andy's reaction to that more than anything else.
I'm still laughing now.
I don't know. I'm not good with the nicknames like that. Like, I don't know. Well, what would you guys give me?
I'm trying to think. Give me some of his nicknames. I can't remember them. If you've got them there, I'll probably think of something.
I'll call you the Bearded Bull, Paul.
The Bearded Bull. Okay. Is there a reason why the bull?
It was alliteration. That was basically the first thing that came to my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, because you guys have the same name, I honestly might go Dr. Seuss and be like Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, if you want to. It's better than Bruce.
Well, I wouldn't have given you that. I think you think a little too much of yourself there.
Hey, Bruce is a legend, though.
Yeah, like I said, you think a little too much of yourself.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking just of him being Asian. It'd be an easy choice.
Would you rather be Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan?
Oh, I don't know. Bruce has got to be up there. Bruce. 100%.
Hold on a second. What are you talking about here? You should be Manny Pacquiao.
Oh, yeah,
Filipino.
true. Yeah, I should be the Pac-Man. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, I should be like Manny Pacquiao.
Then Locke gives another famous speech when he says, we're not the only people on this island speech. And this is, I've referenced them before, but this is one of those moments where I like when I'm watching the show, sometimes I'll be on my phone or doing something else or whatever because I've seen the show, I know the show, I love the show, but there's certain moments like this one where I just need to put my phone down, close my laptop, and do everything else and pay attention because the lines are delivered, you know, like everything is just so perfect in that moment.
Yeah, I would probably go with one of the best lines of the season. It's ace, and it really snaps us back to what's important, what's the real longer arc of this show, and that's the others, and obviously later on it becomes Dharma. But yeah, it's saying let's stop worrying about these survival relationships and really worry about the bigger picture.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that. I agree with that.
But it's funny because Locke delivers that line with such passion, really trying to help everybody understand there's a bigger problem. Yet he knows it was Walt that burnt the raft. So it's funny when you look at it like that, when you see such a powerful quote. Yet he didn't really mean it.
Well, not only that, but he talks about like why would we sabotage one of our own things when he did that same thing earlier with Saeed.
It's funny. Locke is a funny character. You really realize how much deeper it goes with Locke when you watch it back. When he's really not this know-it-all. I mean, it comes across like he knows everything, and he's got this connection. Obviously, he's got this connection with the island, but he really is just pretending this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael is checking, but it seems nothing can be salvaged from the wreckage. And Michael tells Walt that they're going to build another raft, and Walt is very surprised. And I think in the moment he's a little bit upset at that.
Yeah, Walt is very quick to jump back with Daddy and help him build it and be all happy to leave the island again, isn't he? It's a strange one.
I think because he kind of realizes his dad isn't going to give up. He's like, okay, my dad, you're just not going to give up on this, are you? I can't help but laugh a little bit when he picks up the bamboo and he's just like whacking at the wreckage. It's quite. I find that like a little bit of a funny moment.
Do you like Michael or
not? No, not really.
No, I don't either. I used to like him, and it was only really kind of watching this episode back where I kind of thought, hold on a second, I don't really like Michael. Maybe if I watched some of his better episodes, maybe I would, but yeah, I'm not sure if I do like him.
No, I'm not a huge Michael fan. No, I'd give his character maybe a 6, maybe a 5 out of 10 for what he is, and then obviously he does something a little bit later in the show that obviously is.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think his character is quite good in terms of like because he's quite important to the show for one of those like outsider survivors. But in terms of actually liking him, not so much. I don't think.
At the caves, Jin is leaving Sun, but he won't speak to her because, of course, he feels very betrayed. And then she tells him everything, that she was going to leave him and all that stuff. But she says it in English. I don't understand because he can't understand what she's saying. So, like, what's the point of her confessing all of this if it's something that he can't even understand?
Well, he was in the process of walking away until she spoke in English. I think it was a way almost of grabbing his attention. And also, I don't think she actually really wanted him to know that she was going to leave him.
Yeah, that's what I would agree with. She's not ready. Her character's not ready to tell him everything.
Yeah, so I think it was a way of saying, okay, I'm speaking English, and he's like, okay, why is she speaking English to me? Grab my attention. And then, obviously, she says, I was going to leave you, and then, you made me realize or whatever to stay with you. So I think it's kind of a 50-50 split between the two of those.
Yeah, because if you remember, it's not actually until season 3, DOC, where Jin actually finds out. And and the only reason Jin really finds out is because Juliet snitches on Sun, I think, isn't it? But
to protect her.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was the wrong thing.
Don't be dissing Juliet, dude.
A lot of the listeners will be mad at you if you're all up, talking bad about Juliet.
I like Juliet, but my brother Tony absolutely hates her, and he's never really had a good reason behind it. Maybe we'll have to get him on so he can explain his hatred of Juliet. But
No, Tony supports Redding and hates Juliet. He's like the worst person ever.
Yeah.
No, Tony, if you listen to this, Tony, you're a good guy.
Yeah. But you're gonna have to come on and explain your hatred of Juliet.
Sun references wanting to start over, which is 3 times in this episode that someone has talked about starting over, by the way. And then in flashback, Jin visits his father, very much alive, because he referenced, of course, earlier in the episode that his father was dead. He's a fisherman, and Jin is ashamed, which is why he tells everyone that his father is dead. And it also shows why he's very good at fishing. And I had a thing, and I'm not quite sure if it makes complete sense, but in an earlier episode when Jin was offering different sea creatures to people, Hurley apparently rejected one, and then Jin wouldn't catch him any fish. And so he said something along the lines of, like, I think I offended his family's honor or something. So it's possible that kind of turned out to be true.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this bit. I think this was probably watching it the first time. This is probably the moment where I all of a sudden went from not liking Jin to, like, hold on a second, this guy is he's been through a lot and he is a good guy at heart. And it was just so sweet with his father and his father especially. I mean, it's horrible that the class, the way they deal with class.
Yeah.
There's a line that he says, and I absolutely love the line, and he says, "In an ideal world, she would love me, not him." Obviously referencing Sun's father. And I agree, like, the class system, I don't know if it's actually the case in Korea, but the way it plays out in the show, it's obviously, it might be exaggerated slightly to kind of give you more empathy towards Jin. Or it may indeed be like that, we don't know. We need to get some more Korean friends. But no, I just like how nice a moment it is. Like Andy said, you kind of go from hating Jin to thinking, he's not really a good guy, to all of a sudden snapping to this, like, okay, wow, he has come from so humble beginning, shall we say, and he's had to give up so much. He's had to tell people that his father's dead, for goodness sakes, just so that he can get on in the big city or whatever. So to have that moment where he goes back because he feels that's the only way, or that's the only thing he can turn to at that moment in time, is a really nice moment. And just where they are, like, I've been to that spot. It's just actually down by Kualoa Ranch, and it's just a really calm lake, and it's very beautiful down there. And no, it's a really nice moment that is in the show. One of my favorites one of my favorite scenes in this particular episode. That, along with it sounds kind of weird, but Jin crying into the mirror when he's bleeding or when he's got blood all over his arms. That those two scenes really stand out to me, even more so than when Sun reveals she's English, because I think the episode itself is all about Jin's development.
You just stole the words out my mouth. That was it.
Yeah.
Those two scenes you said are perfect, because it's just, this episode is there to basically, it's the beginning of Jin's recovery
journey. Absolutely.
Journey of this person he became back to this this loving husband.
Yeah,
it's the beginning of the story.
They might be underrated, not underrated scenes, but like they kind of go under the radar a little bit in the show or in the episode. But if you kind of look at it from a standpoint of Jin's development, then those two scenes really just make you empathize so much with the characters. And any successful show is run on empathy with characters, and those two scenes really.
And I would say that's not by accident either. I would say the writers have put a lot of effort into those scenes to show Jin as this good person.
Yeah, really pull on the heartstrings. They really did a good job with that.
Yeah, they're lost.
They're definitely the two most, like, humanizing moments for him.
That's a good word. Yeah, humanizing is a very good word for it. No, that's exactly right.
And then, of course, in that conversation, he tells his father that he wishes he could just start over. And that's the 4th reference to that concept in this episode. And then we find out that as
Just,
she
I just
was
have to point out. Sorry, Paul, to interrupt you, but I just have to point out. I love how his father just says to him, "You can." Like, there's no sort of like, it's almost. I just love his father's reaction when he just sort of says to him, "You can. Go to America. Do what you need to do. Just make it work." Like, I love that reaction. It's almost like that's exactly what he needed, wasn't it? It wasn't. There was no sort of airs and graces about it. It was just his dad would just say, "Jin, like, do what you have to do to be with this woman. You clearly love her so much." I love that reaction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to throw that in there. I think that just like, remember, we don't even know if that's his real dad. He's taken on a huge responsibility, that man, and that's a nice moment.
Yeah,
that's definitely one of those things where it's not biology that makes a parent. It's a moment like
yes,
that.
100% agreed. Yeah.
And actually, like you said, like his father says to him, you can start over, and that's when we find out that just as Sun was going to leave him to start over in, like, presumably in America, he was taking her to L.A. to start over, and it's kind of funny when if you go back to the beginning, towards the beginning of the series, and you watch her episode where she's just like all sad and whatever, and she's thinking about leaving him, and then in his mind, he's thinking like, well, all right, we're gonna, like, we're gonna run off together and whatever. In the caves, Jin tells Sun that it's too late for them to start over, and that's when he leaves her. And
yeah, I don't think he actually means that. I think he's just very hurt. I don't think he was ever, in my opinion, you guys may disagree, I don't think he was ever the end for him with Sun. I don't think that was the case. I think it was just he needed time. I think, as you would, like Andy touched on it earlier, it was like a really tough thing to have to hear and deal with, and it would be a make or break for him. So, for Jin, it'd probably be the same thing. But I think in the back of his mind, he was saying no to kind of put his point across almost, because he knew. I think when you're in a relationship of that length and you marry someone, if there's a situation like that, you don't stop loving them. Things like that can't switch off overnight. So I think he knew, and she knew that this wasn't the end. It was just a moment of, right now, I just can't even think about being with you, but I still want to be. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
They needed that. They needed that break. I'm not sure how long it is they have a break apart, but I mean, Sun comes back to Jin in the finale, and they have a nice moment, and they both had time to reflect, because that's what they both need. It's not just Jin that needs this time away. I think Sun needs
too. Yeah,
this time too, for sure.
Yeah, I think honestly, like you said, Andrew, like, he didn't really mean it. I think that mostly the line of him saying that it was too late was just to really juxtapose with his father saying it's never too late to start over, and then him on the island saying, no, it is too late to start over because of this epic betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
That night, on another part of the island, Saeed and Shannon kiss, and she tells him that she wants to start something with him, and Andrew got very mad.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I can't really remember how far we are into his relationship with Nadia at this point. I know we've had the episode when he meets Danielle, where he shoots himself in the leg, and we kind of get a touch on the relationship he has with Noor Arbed Jassim. That's how he says it. I just like saying it in that accent. It's funny, isn't it? No one find it funny? Okay. Just me.
I find your comments hilarious about it afterwards.
Just me that found that funny? All right, okay. Keep that in.
That was funny.
Yeah. But anyway, so I can't remember, but in terms of how far we were with that, but I just knew it wasn't right when he was kissing Shannon. I never liked that relationship, which I've made quite clear already. But that
I didn't
moment,
it's a bit of a waste of time.
And then Walt is approached by Locke, and they play backgammon once again. and Locke says that his dad is not cool, which is probably like one of the most understated things of the entire series. And then Locke asks Walt why he burned the raft because, Locke knew. And like we commented on earlier, even when he delivered that speech earlier, not only did he know that he sabotaged something, but, we don't know when he figured it out, but it could have even been at that moment that he knew that Walt did it. And then Walt says that he did it because he likes the island, and Locke says that he does too. And I wrote, "Hooray for specialness bonding."
Yeah, I get what you mean with Locke. Obviously, he is very special. I never really understood why Walt was so special. I remember there was one scene, it just annoyed me. I don't even know why. He was doing his homework by the window, and then some bird just died. And I was like, what is this all about? Hey, just kill Walt. Don't kill the bird, kill Walt.
Wow.
What is this rubbish? It's terrible.
American TV's not ready for a black 10-year-old to die on TV yet. I think we'll have to wait a few more years before that's all right. But I don't have a problem with Walt, but with him being special, I just don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's it just adds.
Can anyone tell me why he's special?
Well, he turns up in after he's been kidnapped, doesn't he? He turns up, dripping with water, speaking backwards. He's special.
He turns up. He doesn't turn up. That's the island doing something weird. He's not turning up. He can't teleport.
Well,
He's special,
okay. How do you now? Okay, like you said about the scene with the bird. How do you explain later? I believe it's either in a deleted scene or it's in one of the web episode things where they show Ben and Juliet at the what was that weird room with where they put the glasses on them and the brainwashing room. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, room 44.
Room 23.
23, yeah.
Room 23.
And they go outside, and I believe Juliet comes to Ben, and she says something about I don't know what you're doing to him in there, but you need to come see this. And they go outside against the wall there, and on the ground is 50 dead birds because they all flew into the thing. So clearly something is special about this kid.
Well,
they never took it anywhere. They never took it anywhere. So what was the point? He was special for 5 minutes, and then they were like, "All right, okay, he's going to leave the island," and then, "Oh yeah, he's not that special anymore because he's kind of outgrown the show."
You can say You can say the same about Locke.
No, Locke is special, but I disagree with Paul's comment when he talks about hooray.
Why is Locke special?
Well, he was in a wheelchair. He was in a wheelchair. Right. Now all of a sudden he can walk. That's pretty special. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Okay, but what about Walt when he's off the island? Go ahead.
Go on, Paul. No, I was just about to say. I would say that's more of the island than John Locke being special, him being healed. It's the same as Rose losing her cancer, or
how do you explain?
Or just the healing ability of the island.
How do you explain?
Yeah, but Locke had this special relationship with the island, didn't he?
So did Walt.
I think we'll have to all agree to disagree on Walt.
2 Walt specialness things that I can point out. One, in a few episodes from now, he touches Locke's arm and says, "Don't open that thing." So he just somehow knew based on touching Locke's arm. And 2, when he sees Locke when he's in, I believe it's New York City, it's supposed to be, in a few years, once he's off the island, almost halfway around the world, he says about the fact that he was dreaming about Locke. He was on the beach and he was surrounded by people who wanted to murder him. So, that's special. He's having these weird prophetic things.
I think my annoyance isn't with Walt, it's himself. I think it's with the people that wrote, just the producers. If you're going to give a character something like that, something as interesting as that, because you're right, Paul, that is interesting. But if you're going to give it to someone that is able to last the entirety of the show. Don't give it to someone that they know. And we all knew he was going to get to a point where he wasn't going to fit in with the timeline. Don't give it to a character that we can move that development on with. Don't give it to someone that we know in a season's time is no longer going to be there.
Yeah, but did they
Pointless.
know from the very beginning that they were going to be like, okay, the first 4 seasons are all going to take place within about 4 months of each other? Did they know that from the beginning?
They've said that they knew the ending of the show. They knew.
No, I'm not talking the ending of the show because, like, okay, like you said, like he outgrew the show. Yes, we all know that was the case. But did they know that, like I believe I commented on it at another point where this episode or this section of episodes and the DOC episode are really about 2 weeks apart. So that's season 1 and season 3 are about 2 weeks apart. Did they know that the timeline was going to be that small when they originally decided, okay, this kid character is going to be special, and then did they realize afterwards, like, oh no, we screwed up, so we have to kind of write him off the show? Or did they
exactly that's what they should have done. If once they knew that they screwed it up, which you would know, they're bloody bright enough to know that they'd done that. They should have just killed him off. They should have just killed him off. Like, yes, it would have been shocking. It would have been, right? But
Yeah.
they should have done.
I'm just shocked by Paul saying that there's 2 weeks between now and DOC. I'm not believing that. There's longer than that.
I'm pretty sure it's about 2 weeks if you look up the timeline on Lostpedia.
From now, so you've got the end of season 1, all of season 2, and 18 episodes of season 3 or whatever it is up to DOC.
Shall we take
In
a
2
moment
weeks.
and look it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, regardless, I'm still saying Walt should have been killed. I'm sticking by that. Because you both of your points are valid. The character himself was interesting, but they shouldn't have given those characteristics to someone that was never gonna fit. Why don't they give us, like, I don't know. I mean, probably needed better casting, but Boone or something. I don't know, anyone, just someone that is a little bit on the outs, but was still kind of special or something. I don't know.
I am listening.
It just annoyed me.
Yeah, it's days. This episode was days 32 to 34. DOC is episodes 85 to 86.
Okay. So how long would that be? I'm not good with math.
50 days. So a long time. Like a month and a half.
Okay, so 2 months, not 2 weeks. But still, it's not that far. You know, it's still a season.
Yeah. In terms of Walt aging, it's not much. But yeah, it doesn't make much difference. But yeah. I like Walt.
I don't.
Andrew, you either love or you hate quite a lot of characters, don't you?
And it seems to be the kids he doesn't like, the women he doesn't like. Like, what's with this guy?
That's not true. No, I like. Yeah. There are a few characters I dislike. I think there's just certain things that irritate me. But I love Juliet. I love Sun. I love the women too.
Are you trying to convince us or yourself?
Yeah.
Both.
Jin is going to help Michael rebuild the raft, which I think was a nice little moment for them because it doesn't conclude 100% their little rivalry, but it definitely, like I said earlier, like, you know, sometimes when you need to fight and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we got that out of our system, now it's done, let's move on. And that kind of seems to be almost what happened here.
Yeah, we all know they're going to have a better raft this second time round anyway, so for the best. Still doesn't survive, but you know.
Yeah. Who was the reason for the raft going up? Walt.
Well, not strictly.
There's another reason.
I think I'm going to blame the others for that one. I'm going to blame the others for that one.
Yeah.
And then Hurley, we see Hurley listening to his CD player once again as we get a montage of activity. And I've commented on it in previous episodes, but this especially at that time, it just seems like such an American TV thing to do, where it's like, let's kind of sum everything up with a nice little piece of like popular music happening and, whatever, because like we see, Shannon and Saeed having fun. Sun is finally free to wear the bikini. Charlie brings stuff to Claire. And this has happened several times in the series so far. And it kind of bugs me every time because it's like, it just feels so forced.
Yeah, I can tell you as an English person watching this, all you think is, oh my God, this is so American. It's just all that goes through your head.
I definitely believe that because there are certain things like, okay, I watch Grey's Anatomy and they do that quite a lot on that show. It kind of makes sense on that show. I don't know why. Maybe there's just something with that show where it makes sense, but on this show it just doesn't seem to work. Maybe it is because Grey's is more of an American thing versus this, which is like international, but it just doesn't work.
And I think the writers knew that as well, and that's exactly why they added in Hurley CD player running out of batteries at the end to put a bit more real life back into it. Because I think they realised they wanted that montage because they wanted to show everybody happy and whatnot, but they also wanted to remind you that we're not trying to be this modern American show.
Yeah. And that's actually my very last note for the episode is the fact that Hurley's CD player dies, and I just love the fact that he uses Sawyer's catchphrase when he says "son of a bitch." That makes me chuckle.
You know what? We haven't spoken about Hurley at all. He's amazing. I mean, you can't not love Hurley, can you? He makes such a difference to the show, bringing you back down to earth every time, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. The only other thing that I have is the fact that according to Lostpedia, this is the only episode in the entirety of the season which is completely Jin-centric in terms of flashbacks. In all other episodes, he shares flashbacks with Sun or, with other characters or whatever.
Yeah. That surprises me because I imagine Sun might have a couple more by herself. I might be wrong in saying that. Maybe they always share them from now on, but...
Well, I think maybe she has some, but he doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. So, yeah, it's strange, that one, but yeah.
Which is strange to me, because Jin is such a great character. But, I mean, it's a great... If you're going to have an episode, that one was a great episode. It exposed him. It showed his development. It was a great episode for his character personally.
I loved it. I the episode, and I'll be honest, I think because when you messaged me, Paul, saying would you do this one, I know it's not a good one, not many people really wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, and I didn't think it was going to be that good, but yeah, watching these are the episodes that you love when you watch them back. They don't have that big blockbuster twist at the end of some of the others that you'd remember, but a lot of great things went on in this episode, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, some really nice subtle things, really nice moments and little sections of the episode where you really think about things moving forward and what's gone before. It's really nice. Good.
Absolutely. Like I said, and Andy said it, like when I got in touch with a few people and no one really wanted this. And then, I heard, I happened to hear that you guys were like, oh man, maybe we'll be on the show. And I'm like, I have the perfect episode because no one else wants it.
Yeah, we're just English.
Yeah, we're a bit different over here.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anywhere that the people can reach you on social media if they want to keep the conversation going with you or anything like that?
You go first, Andy.
So yeah, you can get me on Facebook. I'm just Andy Cornforth. You'll see me friends with Paul. Twitter I don't really use, but you can check out my YouTube, Andy Cornforth. I do a lot of Lost remixes from back in the day. If you like electronic music, they're just like, remixes of Michael Giacchino's scores. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Andrew?
Yeah, just on Facebook. So again, I'm friends with Andrew Haywood, so you can find me on that. And then also, I'm a regular tweeter, so you can follow me at Nesto25. I honestly, most of my tweets now are about football, but I do occasionally talk about Lost when I've getting a bit emotional and watching it. So, but like I said, if you disagree with me, which you probably will, because I've probably said quite a few controversial things about Shannon and Walt, especially. So if you do disagree with me, I'm more than happy to listen to your opinions. I love talking about Lost. Anytime I can have a chat about it, I'm happy. So.
All right. Thank you guys once again for being on. And at the time of this recording, thank you, Andrew, for taking the time out. I know it's just about your birthday. For legal reasons, of course, I can't sing the song to you, but I will sing. Well, I won't sing because I'm a terrible singer, but I will say just the simple sentence of, "You're a jolly good fellow."
Thank you.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
And thank you both for being on the show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.
No, we love it, Paul. We can get us on again, yeah?
Of course,
Yeah, okay.
of course. So I will end with the traditional. Oh wait, you guys made me promise that I have to do it in like a really my version of a British accent, right? I have to say it.
Yes.
You reminded me. You almost got away with that one, but yeah, you do.
Because
Okay.
it's part of it, isn't it? Because you're doing a British one this time. This is a British podcast.
Okay. Do I have to say thank you or do I have to say cheerio?
It's entirely up to you. Thank you. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, please, no one, including the two of you, no one judge me for this. Yeah, see, there's the laugh. I got the judgment already. Oh,
No,
I'm so nervous.
I'll remain silent.
I'm very
Yeah.
nervous, okay? I reserve the
fine.
right to take this out if I want.
Yes, but it'll be good.
All right, everybody, thank you. Namaste, and good luck.
That's
Well,
not
hey.
bad. That was all right.
I feel like
That
it
was
sounded
good.
more Australian than anything else.
It went too bad. It went too bad.
Wow, that episode was sizzling, wasn't it? For more content like this, how about you subscribe to the channel down below? While you're there, how about you like this particular episode and share it with your friends?